just going to keep on rolling as we move into match number 2. Staz versus DawN. We've got coming right up. And it looks like it's going to be Druid versus Paladin. And it's going to be Staz's Paladin, which is the quest one, versus DawN's Druid, I believe.
Is it that way around? Yes, I guess so. Staz is Paladin. Yes, sorry, you're correct. Yeah.
They both have Paladin, and
right,
only one player has Druid that's playable.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we do see the Druid shielded for DawN, which seems good. He did shield his Warrior yesterday, but obviously different matchups. And then Staz has shielded his Warrior and had his Druid banned out.
Kind of interesting pick and ban. Staz having the same situation as yesterday, which is kind of the default at the moment with Warrior protecting, Druid being banned. I would say the, if not the best and second best classes, at the very least the most popular and second most popular classes at the moment, which obviously naturally indicates that they are considered the strongest classes at the moment. The Rogue being banned away, which for DawN is the aggro Rogue, makes some amount of sense for Staz. That is, however, I guess, assuming that he wasn't anticipating his Druid to be banned, because that can be... Actually, I guess the Druid is alright against the Rogue. It's mainly his Paladin, I think, which really doesn't want to line up against the Rogue.
Yes, and the weirdest thing to me is how this matchup is going to shake out, because I can see Staz losing this game on paper. Obviously, it's definitely winnable, but on paper. But then it goes a little bit weird because DawN has Warrior, which you don't really enjoy playing versus this Paladin from Staz because it's Quest Paladin.
You do not.
And then he has Holy Wrath Paladin, which I have to believe is also just as impossible.
Against the Paladin?
Against the Quest Paladin. Do you
really?
agree? No?
I would have thought that would be a pretty good matchup for the Holy Wrath Paladin, because Holy Wrath Paladin preys on decks that have slow win conditions.
That's true, but it's only slow up until like turn 6, and then they can clear because they make 8/8s.
They got timeout though. 2 timeouts against that deck is
2
huge.
timeouts is a big deal. Don't get me wrong, but again, I've not really seen this matchup a lot.
It's going to be interesting.
It's going to be a weird one if they face off. But my overall point is, I'm unsure, let's say, of that Paladin mirror.
Yeah.
And then there's Paladin versus Warrior, which is one Warrior, but still, I think both of those matchups might be tough for the Paladin. So it might come down to just how good Staz's Hunter does or does not perform versus whatever DawN picks.
And if your Staz having to perform with your Hunter, it's your time to shine. He is just the absolute premier Highlander Hunter player at the moment, I would say, at least in the Asia-Pacific region, where, again, if you missed it in Masters Tour Seoul, top 8, the only Grandmaster to make top 8 in that tournament with the Highlander Hunter, which until specifically he was playing that in the tournament there in Masters Tour Seoul, it just completely flew under my radar, and I thought it was just a bit of a meme deck, but he changed my mind completely.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, because I jumped straight to Hunter when the expansion hits, as I often do. I tried it straight away. Was just like, okay, let's try Bran. Let's see if it's any good. And because I underrated Reno Mage, because I didn't really consider how good it would work out mainly with Galaxy being in a one-of deck. Because I underrated that, I actually thought Hunter was going to be the best deck in terms of Highlander, because obviously Elise can be played in 2-of decks.
Right.
So not so much. I didn't think Highlander Druid was going to make the cut, because I didn't think any singular set of minions was good enough to like really push the deck out. But I thought Hunter was going to be the best. I was obviously wrong because of Galaxy, though. I think more than anything. But yeah, I've gone from I thought the deck was good, then I saw the aggro secret side, thought it was bad. But now I think it's good again. So it's kind of Hunter's gone up and down for me.
Which is interesting because you seem to be like an exact opposite to what a lot of other players think. Because a lot of players
I often
first,
am. Right. I'm wrong and they're often right.
Well, I mean, it's debatable because it's not only whether it's not like you and the people who doubt it, one of you has to be correct. You could both be correct because you are casting Asia Pacific, which is a very different metagame to America's GM, right? And it's different decks that will be brought. Some players may just think the power level is not there, and at the end of the day, it is Highlander Hunter. It sounds like a meme when you're talking about it. Because, that was one of when original Reno was in the deck, Highlander Hunter was never a thing. It was always joked with, right? Because it was the worst class to make a Highlander version with.
Most importantly, though, in terms of, you said, the deck's pretty slow. The hand looks pretty good to me. Because the main...
Really? When he draws Questing Explorer and double Christology... Yeah, okay, it's pretty good.
Jeez, Derek. But seriously, my point being that when you draw the eggs and can get to your reborn minions, that's when the deck goes nuts. And the fact that this might look like a semi-bad mulligan because there's a 5 and 6 drop in the hand, no. Those are the cards you cannot force draw. So you want it to be this way around, if anything. And Staz is about to go off, and DawN has, what, 3 turns till something gets done in any reasonable fashion?
And in all honesty, I think this is the part of the deck that I underrated the most. The fact that I really thought of it as Egg Paladin from a few months ago with Quest, which it absolutely is not. It is honestly closer to a curve deck, which we haven't seen for quite a while in Hearthstone, because most aggressive styles of decks cannot just curve out. That's not really good enough a lot of the time anymore in Hearthstone. You have to go
it's
like...
all about cheating, isn't it?
Right, exactly. You have to go aggro rogue, where you just cheat your opponent out the game right at the start. Or Quest Shaman, I guess, is kind of a curve deck. But even then, you're not playing 1 minion on turn or curve. You're playing a lot of cheap generating cards. Whereas this Paladin deck is just trying to play a lot of reasonable mid-game, cheap-ish sized minions, curving out, which does very well against the Druid.
Now B is really good pick up for DawN. Only a 1-up in the deck, I believe. It's kind of standard, but being able to not only kill off a minion and have 2 1/1s to like play around with next turn is a pretty big deal.
Obviously, a turn left for quest completion is available, so Staz needs to think, how do I make a board that is the most resilient to Oasis Surging? Because that's, I think, generally the worst thing you can see, at least immediately after the quest is completed. And I think it's a pretty reasonable conclusion to come to of just go as wide as possible.
And a big problem that Druid has in this matchup, because I've played this from both sides, is that if the Paladin gets rolling, Druid cannot clear enough in the right way of the board. Because you could say, well, your hero power makes 2/2s. Starfall's great, you kill a big thing and kill all the 2/2s. Right, but the 2/2s make 8/8s, and then you die on the backswing. Oh, yes. So Druid can't like correctly deal with the minions. It can deal with some, but not in the right way. And that's the biggest issue that DawN's going to have to try and face in this matchup.
And it really is just such an interesting matchup where both players are doing such ridiculously powerful stuff after the quest is completed. That both decks are so unreactive, really, it feels like. Druid has a better time, I think, of being able to clear off the boards. But because the Paladin deck is so sticky, it's just a board matchup. Like, whoever can pull ahead on the board,
there was swipe,
will just
3
win.
trades, and there's still 2 minions on the board. It's like, wait, what? And the minions are small.
Yeah.
And now, I think this is probably going to be get an egg or a whelp down. Wait, he's 4 out of... He's nearly done the quest, right?
I think he's at 4 out of 5, yeah.
So I think he'll want to... He's not playing egg this turn.
Oh, he's at 3 out of 5.
I thought he was going to go the other way. He could make this turn next turn and then copy a whelp or an egg.
I mean, he could still go next turn egg, coin hero power.
Yeah, I think he's scared of if he plays an egg and it gets Oasis Surgeon down, can't copy an egg again.
I think I'd be pretty happy if I was Staz.
But honestly, though, if I was DawN, I would Oasis Surge the egg. You cannot win otherwise.
I guess so, yeah.
That's how weird the deck
lose,
feels. Like if you leave an egg on the board, it gets copied. It always gets copied.
Yeah. It's a weird situation, man. I don't know, maybe the Paladin is just very favored. At least, you know, when they get this kind of hand, when they drew double Crystology, the curve is so smooth at that point.
Then again, I played this deck where I've not even propped my quest till turn 7, and that's the end of turn 7. So it can be awkward, but you have to see that, you know, double Crystology in the deck is huge. Yep. It's double Crystology plus your mulligan is massive. It gives you such a high chance to be able to get those cards. And although it's not included in Staz's version, I do like the idea of this Countess Ashmore. I think because it draws you that last piece, which is one of the eggs.
And the Ziliax as well.
And Ziliax, if you haven't drawn it by that point,
which is, just such the...
And then those combo together in itself, never mind the hero power.
Pretty clear turn here for Staz, setting up for
and
the hero power.
And Neutron hero power, let's go. And what's worse, it's less the copy of the egg, it's the fact that it gives the egg an attack. That's the first. If it was a blank egg, you'd be like, okay, maybe I can get away with this, he doesn't have a taunt. And it's like, nope, the egg can just attack, and you die.
This is crazy, man. Like, this matchup can't be as bad as it feels in this game. Like, this was kind of a high roll for Staz, right? In terms of how I mean, this was the dream hand he got here, pretty much, right?
I honestly don't think you could want a better mulligan.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right? It was the absolute dream.
One thing you have to think,
Because
though,
this just feels unwinnable for the Druid. DawN doesn't
Yeah.
feel like he has a chance this game.
the thing that makes operate this deck is after, you know, the deck's been played, you know, 2,000 times, call
Yeah.
it. What is the average draw looking like?
Sure.
Because if you don't draw 2 Crystologies and you don't draw 2 eggs, surely reborn minions are all that's left to have in your mulligan in the deck, which means you can still progress towards the quest. So I feel like it might be one of those things where you can get insane draws, you can get okay draws, and the biggest problem, like I said, is the eggs being bottom of your deck, which is where Ashmore helps.
True.
Because those are the games I've really lost. Either hyper aggro I'm against, or the eggs just not showing up. And then you like copying mummies and stuff like, you know, in a weird way.
DawN here in the end says, you know what, mate? Have your 2 8/8s.
Yeah, I told you have to.
Yeah.
And now he's just dead.
Is he just dead?
I think it's 17, 18, 19. Oh no, sorry, he's not 8 mana.
Yeah.
He would have done 22 if he had 8 mana.
Yeah, yeah. But you know what? I think that'll do, Pig.
You can taunt one up, subdue another, trade a 1/2 into one of the Oasis Surges that's subdued.
Yeah, that feels alright. Like, it's, okay, it's not necessarily over. Like, if DawN can somehow get very lucky and draw, like, every 2 of in his deck and then activate Zephyrus, we may be in with a chance for him, but it feels very, very slim.
There is, like, Zephyrus Master Spell ways to deal with
That's
the board,
what I'm thinking,
yeah. Or even Twisted Nether sometimes. Yeah. But normally the eggs are too much for that, so...
Yeah, no Psychic Scream, no Plague of Death.
You know, actually is pretty good. Something that I did in a Priest mirror. Was it Priest? No, it couldn't be. What was I playing? Anyway, I got a Cabal Shadow Priest.
Oh, yeah.
And that's pretty sick.
That is pretty sick.
Yeah. I stole the Amet.
Oh.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah,
Zephyrus, Cabal Shadow Priest, Amet, let's go. Teach you for doing overpowered things, please. Yeah, I like this.
It's very weird having to get your head around this deck where copying a 10-12 with DawN is worse than copying just a normal Berserker.
Reborn's a hell of a thing.
Alright, so on this turn, War Druid Loti does clear everything except the 2/2, which is pretty nuts.
I think he needs to Ferocious Howl first in case he gets Floop.
Okay.
Because if you Loti with Floop in hand, that's a second Loti, which again, as you can see, is quite impactful.
Yeah. Oh, I guess the 3 will survive as well.
Oh, okay. Just to go worst scenarios.
That
Just
does clear off the... Yeah.
And it's taunts as well.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. War Druid Loti, I guess, a little bit too valuable. This is a remarkably strong effort from DawN to stabilize this position. Not sure if it's going to work because Staz has the very strong follow-up of Whelp Hero Power. I don't know if you're looking at
I think he holds on the Whelp, yeah. Because against this board, he can't clear the board if you Whelp Hero Powers, right?
So does he go Annoy him?
And if he can't clear the board, you can't guarantee the Whelps don't get weirded out somehow. So I think you can wait with the Whelp and go Annoy module and then subdue Hero Power.
That doesn't clear the board either, though.
No, but you just leave like a Scenarios up on its own. And there's an Annoyatron, Annoy moduled 8/8 on the board. So it's got Divine Shield. So I think that's enough.
Okay.
But Staz disagrees, okay. Staz has, I want to say, probably played more games of this than me.
Yeah.
I have played a fair few, but maybe not that much.
I see your point. You know, you want to save your big minions for when you're ahead on board,
it sounds
so they
really
can't trade
silly,
into them.
but it can't happen, which is fine. But imagine like Zephyrus into Cabal Shadow Priest, and then he pops that well.
Sure.
What do his other turns look trash now compared to the power level of well?
Yeah, I don't think that's really a consideration.
Yeah, it's extreme, but I'm just saying there are things that can happen.
Yes. I mean, I think the bigger concern is that you're playing your only real threat into a board that can trade into them.
Exactly, yeah.
But I think that it's so dominant, and the way it works, as you were saying, with, you know, if DawN doesn't kill off these minions, the hero power becomes absurd. If he does kill off these minions, you kill him.
Yeah, because he's on 19 now.
Exactly.
The saving grace as well is that Annoy module, I think. Because he can, worst case, if he gets an 8/8 or 7/7, he can like make a big Taunt Divine Shield. And again, Druid without hero power, with lessened direct removal from hand, has a tough job of dealing with these things.
And DawN just saying now, wow. You know what, these are only 2/2s in play at the moment. They're not that scary as it currently stands. Staz can obviously change that very rapidly. But I think it's a reasonable realization from DawN that he can just leave this as it stands.
I think annoying module hero power on that one.
That's what I'm looking at.
Because then you go...
Yeah, just a candle taker as well, right? Just
and it's like, well, they're 2/2s, which might not seem that... Well, one's a 4 attack, of course.
Yeah.
But they might not seem that threatening, but you can't kill me through them.
Yeah.
And if you kill the taunts, you die.
And if you don't kill them, hero power, hero power,
yeah,
hero
they'll
power,
get you
hero
eventually.
power.
You just make an army of them, yeah. There's also... He could just Kangos and make 8/8s or X. He could do that, but slightly less reliable. I think I'd just keep it simple. Yeah, no module hero power. Just say how... again, it's similar to yesterday. How does he now win? I don't know. That you can't do... Oh, he's not going for the Divine Shield.
Why?
I have no clue.
What possible reason is there? Does he want them to die? I guess if you want them to die.
Wait, if you want them to die, you give them Taunt.
Well, but it has Divine Shield. I think it's wrong, but you know.
But I mean, if they have Taunt, they have to die at some point.
Right, but it's easier to sacrifice them off on your side. Say the Druid just doesn't attack, you can slam them in. So
strange. I don't know.
It's not strictly worse, I think, but yeah, I agree. That was a bit of a weird decision. Yeah, I can kind of see the reason. Some nice defensive options yet again presented to DawN. And obviously the scenarios in the Ancient of War. Tendies, I don't think it's quite time for here.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I could go for some Tendies, actually, to be fair.
It's like a 24-hour-a-day thing for me. I don't think anyone would ever offer me any, and I wouldn't have one.
Well, there's no situation
where
you wouldn't accept a Tendy.
If it was like, take one of these, it's covered in poison, then I wouldn't, but... I think time of the day factors into it.
Right, so there's no time of the day that you wouldn't accept a Tendy.
I don't think so.
So middle of the night, someone parachutes down onto your balcony. It's like, right, mate. Tendy?
Yeah, cheers, mate.
Go on then.
Midnight snow.
DawN, however, has a distinctly different situation than parachuting Tendies.
Honestly, again, speaking of Hearthstone Classic coming soon, Kappa, like how silly would if you showed this to someone back in original Hearthstone days? They'd be like, "Wait, have they cheated us?"
I mean, to be fair, if you showed this to someone in classic Hearthstone days, they would laugh at you, play Undertaker, and kill you 2 turns later.
You're like, you don't let it get to this point.
Yeah. Or just, Leponome on one, it would be a joke. But here, Staz very easily does find the lethal, bring him up 1-0. It felt like this was on the cards for quite a while now. And this is just what interests me more and more about this deck, is that I didn't really realize how much it punishes decks that don't have removal cards, right? Because you have to have very, very specific removal cards to be able to deal with them effectively. Like Sap, obviously Silence affects him. Sorry, very nice as well.
Yep.
But overall, it's just very difficult for the Druid to kill anything off.
It is as well, and even when you consider, say, look at Rogue that has very efficient damage removal as well as, say, Sap, for example. But with all the minions with Reborn, you still have to remove things twice, which almost no deck can do consistently if the Paladin can curve out. And again, I told you about this deck last week and you laughed. It's looking
still
okay.
Undecided. Still undecided.
Yeah, it's looking all right though. It's not looking bad.
It is.
But anyway, that was just game number 1. We'll let the players get ready for game number 2. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with some more Hearthstone.
Welcome, recruits. I'm Alec Dawson, and today I'm here to teach you what it takes to be part of the League of Explorers. We need all the help we can get because it's time to save old Doom. First things first, being an explorer can be dangerous. The League of Evil has already stolen DawN, but now they're unleashing plagues in Old Doom, and they keep shuffling bombs into our decks. Luckily, Old Doom is stocked with ancient treasures that may give us a chance. We've already sent some of our best explorers to retrieve these powerful artifacts, but we need you to go out into the field too. Here's your quest. Raid the Sky Temple. That may seem like a lot of spells, but you'll get there faster than you think. Once we complete our quest, we'll get the hero power Ascendant Scroll, which adds a mage spell to our hand and reduces the cost by 2. Ascendant Scroll allows us to load up on cheap spells for cards like Archmage and Tinnitus. Because if there's a way to defeat evil, it's fireballs to the face. Make no mistake though, the League of Evil has been leveling up too. Evil was powerful in DawN, but now they discovered something even more nefarious. Teamwork. Here's Weaponized Wasp, one of Hagatha's new secret weapons. The laser on its head, courtesy of Blastmaster Boo. Weaponized Wasp plays well in aggressive lackey decks that look to take forward control early. In Saviors of Uldum, expect to see lackey build-arounds in Shaman and Warlock. But don't worry, we also have a secret weapon. Bees! No, really, one of our junior explorers found a bee-controlling device deep in Kartut's tomb. It took us a few days to decipher the instructions, but it's quite the powerful tool. Here they come now, it's bees! A new Druid spell. This efficient removal spell excels in token-based Druid decks. Need some extra pains for Knife Juggler? Bees! Need some extra bodies for Soul of the Forest? Bees! Need anything at all? Bees! All right, that's all we have for today, Explorer. We've got one more training session to go before you'll be ready for the dangers of the desert. So sit tight, and I'll see you out there in Saviors of Uldum.
Versus Staz is continuing now, and Staz, coming off the back of a win with that quest Paladin, is continuing to show us, as well as a few other players, that maybe this deck is actually one of the many playable Paladin archetypes. Well, I think playable is actually very fair for name of the deck.
I think playable is very fair. I think it's a strong deck if you're expecting a certain metagame to pop up, which is again, weirdly, not exactly what I would expect to see in this metagame, where there's a lot of aggro. But at the very least, if you think it's strong against Warrior and strong against Druid, which are by far the two most highly represented decks, honestly, it's a fantastic bring.
Also, as well, I think what's interesting about its slot now is no one, or barely anyone, is going to shield an aggro deck.
It's been very
for
rare.
your one deck that crushes control, or mid-range or whatever. And if that's the case, is Paladin just almost just a free win for you every time? Because not many players are bringing more than one, maybe two aggro decks, because there just aren't that many that people are just stacking together because of a lot of people playing Warrior and Druid. And if that's the case, is Paladin just kind of like very likely a 1 point on the board? And if that's insane.
That's huge
if that's the way it
is.
is, like the whole game or the whole meta from the players has to just change, because you can't just allow someone to just have a win against your lineup like every single time. It's crazy. But sorry.
Yeah, it is just interesting how it feels like in best of 3, it feels like you have a little bit more liberty to bring the high polarity decks. We have very good win rates and very bad win rates against certain classes.
Yeah, well, Let's get into game number 2. It's Paladin has gone now, can't be replayed. This is Shield Conquest. So Staz is now on his Hunter versus the Druid again. A matchup that I think Hunter has benefited from the patch changing a few things. I think because Druid is so gone up in popularity versus Mage going down, as you mentioned yesterday, I feel like almost it's replaced the matchup as well, because I think Hunter does fairly well versus Druid. I
agree. I think if you're off to a strong start that Staz appears to be, you know, this is a pretty resilient start to the game with Secret, you know, whatever it may be, into Mask Contender. And then into Hyena Alpha, like, you know, the Druid really struggles to deal with these sized minions.
And one thing to note as well is Staz is playing basically the list from last week, High Main, Hunter's Pack, so on. So it's not had, like, say, maybe the evolution or just different changing style that Surrender was playing. But also Staz is playing in another tournament this week as well, pretty high impact tournament for a chance to represent his country in an even wider tournament as well. So he's been busy competing all week. But look at this, like, you know, the pressure plate, and now that they're going into Hyenas is going to be really nice. And does DawN just die after this? Like, it's crazy.
It's looking like it could be that way. Like, I mean, DawN, to be fair to him, has some strong countermeasures we're talking about. We could see, obviously, Wrath next turn or Ferocious Howl to gain a bunch of armor. Innovate Nourish on turn 5 is a possibility as well. Just bees on this turn as well as a possibility.
Just bees.
Straight
bees
up
do
bees.
proc traps though.
Yes, they do. So Snake Trap, Freezing Trap.
Yeah, which would turn me off bees if I was DawN.
Does bees... Say you played bees into a 4 health minion, would it proc pressure plate? Like, does it do it before they start attacking, or is it after? I don't think I've ever actually seen that.
I think it might be after. Yeah, I was going to say,
after.
yeah, it's after. Because if it makes sense with the way all the other spells for some minions
yes,
work.
yeah. Yes, it does. Yeah, that makes sense.
Because the spell finishes, then the pressure plate goes on.
Because each individual beat, it counts as an attack, like an attack as if you were making it yourself. Like it triggers a overkill and snake trap and things like that.
Now, pretty solid though. This you start to see why players are playing Sandbinder in more and more decks because of Zephyrus and Tiamat just being a very, very solid couple of cards you don't mind drawing.
Man, we are talking about Savage Roar next turn. This could be very scary for DawN if he doesn't get clearing up.
And he's not really got the tools for it
yeah,
quite
how does he do that?
Well, he has Swipe.
Wrath Innovate Swipe?
Yeah, but...
that doesn't clear up much.
It leaves two 2/1s on the board.
Okay, I guess that's fine. You're not dying then, at the very least.
Yeah, the problem is it doesn't draw you cards and it doesn't gain you mana. That's like the biggest thing for me.
And of course, if he did that, he'd be afraid of Rat Trap anyway, right? Because that would be
that's true.
three cards being played, which is one of the reasons, I guess, why he didn't go for that.
And now he knows it's not Rat Trap,
and he's thinking,
but he can't.
Can I go back? Can I go back?
Yeah. And it's one of the funny issues as well, is Druid, I feel, post-quest activation definitely suffers from the Rat Trap issue.
Yeah.
Of, you can play a lot of cards in the Druid deck, like especially after Nourish, but you can't because you just can't often deal with the 6/6. Is he just dead?
How much damage are we looking at here?
So, Zephyrus...
10 plus 17? 17?
Yeah, I mean, seems good to me with a bow in hand as well, and an Unleash the Hounds, and a Ziliax.
It's like, it's the turn before, obviously, the Oasis, Hidden Oasis.
He probably just bows instead, right?
Do you think so?
What about bow Rat Trap?
I mean, if he had Starfall, would he have played it there 100%? Probably.
Well,
Your wish is my suggestion.
I think I like getting it down low.
Okay. My issue is what happens...
What? Brightwing? Hello?
So okay, so I'll explain what's happened here.
Because please, I need explaining.
Okay, so Zephyrus kind of had slots, right? So there is the buff slot,
the good slot, and the bad slot.
Yes. The buff slot in this instance is buff, value, minion.
Yes.
As in like aggro.
Yeah.
And the reason that Power of the Wild was chosen was because over time, Power of the Wild is better than Savage Roar.
Right. Savage Roar didn't offer lethal, so it prioritizes stats
and it wouldn't
over
give
damage,
you
which makes sense.
a board buff or a different board buff normally.
I guess
Do you know what I mean? Because why would it offer you Savage Roar and Power of the Wild?
I guess Power of the Wild might have been taken over Savage Roar there anyway, although I'm not even certain about that.
Yeah.
But Right Wing.
Yeah.
Oh.
But also tried to offer a playable card, which again,
Yes,
is why it's
Edwin was a good one.
yeah.
That was a 3-6/6.
Yeah.
I would consider taking that, even though I believe Staz absolutely made the right pick.
But yeah, basically, I think Zephyrus is pretty much just the good, the bad, and the ugly, isn't it? is what the discovery is like, because it normally feels like it.
Yeah.
There's the good card you actually wanted, the bad card which is meh, and then the card that you think, is that even in the game?
What on earth are you talking about?
Zephyrus, stop.
Yeah.
Just offer me the 2, it's fine. Ugh, grasping at straws, I think, here.
Yeah,
that was what, 3, 5.
Pretty sick there to keep more of his minions alive, and I think.
Oh, he's Omega dead right now. Isn't he?
That's what, 9, 11, 13.
Yes, okay.
18. Yeah.
The pause, like, I just counted him, was like,
Just
oh, he's
kept-
super dead.
yeah,
and
yeah,
then the
he's
pause, I was
completely-
like, oh no, am I going to look like an idiot? But I'm pretty sure he is very dead.
I agree.
If there's one thing I know, it's how to quickly add up hunter damage, okay?
And after a very, very slow series that we had last time with Surrender taking the loss, unfortunately, Staz now takes the victory, starting off Season 2 of Grandmasters at 3-1. DawN is somewhat more middle of the road, 2-2, but Staz, after a terrible start to Season 1 of Grandmasters, turning it around. It looks like he's not even going to have to go for a comeback here. He's just dominating from the start.
Yeah, and what you've got to look at, very interestingly enough, is Warrior or Druid was not banned. And instead the Rogue was banned out. So instead of maybe going for a more generic strategy of saying, I'm going to ban like the good decks, so to speak, in terms of just Warrior and Druid right now, which I think just overall they are the best decks, Staz going, no, actually, I don't want to play against a highly aggressive deck. Another deck I think is a bit of a problem for Hunter. I'll just get rid of that, and these sort of mid to slow decks just crush them.
Yeah.
And I think if that was the plan, it was very well executed.
It was indeed, and I like seeing these slightly different game plans coming along, because players are still going for the Warrior and the Druid strategy. Of course, it seems pretty well set out, as is Staz and the vast majority of other players. But spicing it up with just one deck different makes all the difference in the world in terms of ban strategy. Like the fact that Staz is bringing Paladin, the Quest Paladin, means he's banning away aggro decks like the Rogue. Makes sense. You want to get a nice, easy win with the Paladin, and then you're pretty much guaranteed that it will take a win against either Warrior or Druid.
Yeah, it's really, really impressive overall, and it's definitely cool to see something a little bit more out there, and I think continues to display just the cool kind of weird meta we're in right now, where you can almost play whatever you want, definitely whatever class you want, and then almost whatever style you want within those classes as well. It's pretty crazy overall. And maybe I was looking at win rates as well, you know, because I talked about Murloc Paladin. I thought, oh, Murloc Paladin's going to be great. Frosty won with it, and everyone else I think lost yesterday across EU and America's regions respectively. So I'm like, okay, I need to make better predictions next week.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still pretty down on Murloc Paladin. Like Quest Paladin, I'm kind of seeing the benefit of. I still don't consider it a strong ladder deck necessarily, but I can see its spot in Conquest. Whereas the Murloc Paladin, I still feel is just like, you're just playing a bunch of garbage cards and then one high roll scenario.
Sounds like my kind of deck. Okay, I believe we've got Staz standing by now. He's ready. So, Staz, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect. So, first off, congratulations. I think it was a very quick but very cool series. Do you just want to talk to us about what you think of this Quest Paladin deck? Because it's a deck I think is really cool and kind of crazy, but how important was it to your overall strategy here?
I feel like it's really strong against the Warrior and the Druid, and they are the top tier decks right now. So yeah, I think Quest Paladin is a good deck to bring for this meta.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's cool, and we're slowly convincing Derek that it is also a very good deck. We'll get him in the end. And what did you think of DawN's lineup? Were you happy with it when you saw, you know, when it comes to shield and ban? Were you happy with seeing a rogue that you could just get rid of and then everything else lined up?
Yeah, I was really happy when he shielded the Druid. I mean, I think at least 2 of my decks is really favored against Druid and 2 50-50, so yeah, I was really happy it got shielded.
Oh, nice. Seems good. And we know you've been competing this week in another tournament as well.
Yeah.
Do you just want to let us know how's that gone? Because I imagine most people haven't been able to catch up with it or see what's been going on. That's all.
Oh yeah, we were playing for the SEA Games qualifiers, and we just finished like 9 round robins just to have a good idea who's the best among the 4 of us. Me, Karakute. No, not Karakute. She was the caster there, and me, Waning Moon, Gia, and Alan Pogi.
Okay, that's it. Sounds pretty cool. And that, if I'm right, isn't that a lot of the people you actually practice with as well?
Yeah, they are the same people. I was asking for advices and practicing. So,
Nice. That must be a pretty cool tournament actually, to just basically a practice partner tournament to go on as well.
Yeah.
So that must have been pretty fun. But again, we'll let you go. But good job. It was pretty cool to see your lineup. Congratulations, and we'll see you next week.
all right, thank you.
See ya. That's kind of a cool tournament to play in as well. It's like, imagine it would be like a caster tournament for us, right? It's just like all the people you talk to about the game a lot and just play for bragging rights as well.
Yeah, I imagine it's probably a little bit more competitive than that. Although, I mean...
Oh, definitely, yeah. I'm just saying in terms of players.
With Gia in there as a caster as well, but she kind of doesn't count because she's so good that she shouldn't... She can fit into both camps very easily as well.
She's not allowed to play in the caster tournament.
Exactly, yeah, she's too good.
No, but let's move on to our next